to hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Don't look at me, Carlos.
just say hello.
Hello?
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. You are ready to start whenever you're ready.
Okay. I'm finally done. 4 long, hard years finally paid off. In about a week's time, I'll be walking across the stage, getting my well-earned diploma, and putting high school behind me. And though this sounds great, and is something I'm sure everyone has and does look forward to, I'm sure we can also all agree that it is kind of terrifying. We're going to be, for the first time, really going out into the real world, and we'll also be putting everyone and all the buildings that we've grown to know so much over these 4 years behind us. But forgetting that scary, daunting, terrifying thought for just a moment, we've also learned a lot here at Cab Tech, and I would love to leave behind some words of wisdom for everyone that's about to, I guess, somewhat follow in my footsteps. The first lesson I want to leave is to make sure you live in and savor the moment. It's so hard to appreciate moments for what they are until it's too late. After losing so much of my high school career to COVID, I look back at freshman and sophomore year and realize that I didn't really know what I had back then. I didn't realize that being able to come to school and hang out with my friends would be such a privilege I would one day wish to relive. So please appreciate your time here at Cab Tech. Even on those really long, hard days where all you want to do is go home because one day you're not going to be able to come back. My second lesson is to not let other people define you. We spend so much time during our high school and teenage years worrying about how other people perceive us. A lot of people, including myself, let the outside pressure of what school to go to, what job to pursue, or who to be with define our life, but you can't let it. When the opinion and approval of others are the deciding factors in how you live your life, you begin to lose yourself. And that's not a way to spend the years that are supposed to be your best, right? And the final lesson is that you don't always have to look on the bright side. Whenever you're going through a tough time, so many people will say something along the lines of, well, hey, it could always be worse. And though they probably mean the best by that, it can come off as if you're not able to be mad or feel how you're feeling. But no matter what, your emotions are valid and you're allowed to express that. If being able to look on the bright side helps you, please go for it, don't stop. But know that you're always able to sit in your feelings and you don't have to invalidate them by constantly comparing yourself to the situation of others. Now, with high school almost behind me and my lessons left, what's next? Well, obviously I dream of the basics, right? Health, happiness, comfortable living, etc. But I also dream of being able to help people through education. I want to be an elementary school teacher, and with that, I want to make an impact. I want to be that one teacher we all have that we just can't forget because they were so good at what they do. They were able to not only teach you, but help you grow and evolve into the person you are today. And one reason I think this dream is at least a little bit achievable for me is because this year I was science club president, and with that, whenever Miss Scott wasn't here, I would have to run clubs. And I remember one day, I can't remember exactly which day it was, I came to school and neither Miss Scott nor Caitlin were there, my vice president. And so I had to bounce back from nothing, having no idea what to do, and run an effective club day. This skill and flexibility is very important for teachers. In order to make the impact I want and dream of, I need that skill, because the most memorable, impactful moments are the ones that aren't scripted. Now, to close out this last lecture, to everyone that I'm leaving behind, to fellow seniors and graduates, I wish you nothing but the best after high school. Whether you're going to college, taking on a 5th year, or going into the workforce, I hope you succeed and get everything you want out of it and fully enjoy it. We've been through a lot in high school, and I thank you guys for helping me make the best of these 4 years. And finally, to the underclassmen, I hope you enjoy your years at Cab Tech. Though it can be stressful and annoying at times, push through and embrace it. Go on all the field trips while you still can, go to all the schools, go to all the dances and after-school activities while you still can, and get really into those stupid video projects while you still can. Because those are the memories you'll carry with you, not the all-nighters you take trying to finish an essay or a math test you bombed because you forgot one formula. High school is a special and confusing time that will fly by if you let it. So enjoy it while you can. Thank you for your time. Clap for for me. Thank you.
Good job, Haley.
I had this whole bit planned out where I was gonna make fun of the fact that there's so many people here, but there's like 2 people, so I can't really do that. Um,
There's this whole wide world audience that's up here, so
yes.
if you want to do the bit, you can do
it's
to the
fine.
camera.
It was just gonna be making fun of the fact that I might pass out because I thought there would be people in front of here, but they're not. Okay, so I'm just gonna get on with it and say that, well, like other people before me, they've said that we're graduating, we're gonna get out of here. Some people are excited, some people are absolutely terrified, like myself. And yeah, so, well, as a senior, I've learned a few lessons in this school relating to both work and just school and life. But one of the first ones is to never put anything off, like ever, regardless of if it's schoolwork, actual work, a chore, even. Like, I mean, how scary is it to see your parents come home and you still haven't washed the dishes yet? But I still do it sometimes, like, I'm gonna be completely honest, but that doesn't mean I actually enjoy doing it. Like, it's very stressful. It's one of the worst feelings knowing that you have a 5-page essay due in like a day and you still haven't done anything. But something you can do is just pace yourself. I mean, a lot of people say that, but it's because it's a useful thing to do. I mean, doing multiple things at once is like really stressful, but it's even worse when you decide to leave it off and it just piles up into one big workload. An example would be during one of my English classes in freshman year, we had this like 2-page essay. It wasn't that much, but they gave us a 2-week-long like time frame to do it, and I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. I'm gonna not do it right now. And I forgot about it. And it was the night before it was due, and I had like a sentence written down. So what I ended up doing is I ended up staying up until like 4 in the morning writing it, and I got no sleep that night. And I was actually kind of confident. I was like, okay, I got it done. Now hopefully I can get a good grade. But I didn't, and I got like a 52 on it. So it tanked my grade hard. I had like a high A. I ended up with like, I just that one assignment alone dropped it to a low B. And you know, maybe that's why I had 2 weeks to work on it. I don't really remember what the essay was. Just something that stuck in my head though. The second one is just don't be afraid to be yourself. Cause like middle school was like the place of judgment. Like you want to get judged for how you breathe. I mean, you've come to the right place. So yeah, I mean, it's okay to be yourself, because I know I've been doing that now. I mean, I was really quiet. I didn't want to say anything to anyone ever, and now I'm like speaking up here. So yeah, it's not much. I just felt it just really it's something that's important to me. The last one is to be organized. Again, it doesn't matter if it's schoolwork, life, work, normal stuff. Like both mentally organized and physically organized, because you can't really do your stuff if you have like 50 papers all over your desk. It's just not fun. I have a few dreams in life. One of them, well, I have 2 actually. So far, main ones. They're both related to my careers. I'd say one of them is becoming a fireman. I'm gonna apply to the fire department when I turn 18, which is in 2 months. And we'll see what goes from there. The second one is being a graphic designer. I want to do both of them at the same time. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna do that. But I know I'll make it work eventually. But yeah, I hope that whoever is listening to this can take it to heart. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Organized is a big thing in life.
Carlos. So, I am a senior in the class of 2022, and I want to start off by saying that I've had a really great experience at the school. I've had some good lessons learned, some good memories made, and overall had a very great opportunity to attend at the school. So overall, people will experience hardships and some troubling times throughout their lives to become successful in life. But the one thing we can do to make sure that doesn't happen is simply face the problems head on so that we can overcome them. I always feel that overcoming the challenge is a lot easier than backing down from the challenge, because that hardship could easily turn right around and come back at you later. A lesson that my parents always told me was, if I was the one that started the problem, then I am clearly the one at fault. But if I insert myself in the problem, then I have the right to stay out of trouble. A really good example of this was in middle school. There was a few kids at the cafeteria at lunch. They were starting fights for no reason, so I went in and I told them that they needed to stop because they could get in trouble. So I took martial arts, so the first instinct is, if someone hits me, then I have the equal opportunity to do it back. So the kid thought it was funny, so he hit me, so in return I retaliated and did it back. So, but the issue with that is we both got in trouble. He got in more trouble because he started the issue. I didn't get in trouble as much because I had the right to retaliate and tell him to stop. So essentially the lesson I learned from that was just keep my cool and don't let things get under my skin as bad. Because growing up, I had a lot of anger issues, and I still do. They're not as bad, but my anger issues tend to kick up when I'm doing schoolwork, especially projects. I get frustrated very easily. I tend to express that with a lot of physical attention, like hitting stuff and yelling, and I slowly learned that there's other alternatives to calming down. So I figured out that if I just took a step back and listen to music or watch TV or draw something, I could use that time to cool off, relax, and then go back to the problem. That was a really good time that I showed resiliency, because projects are what really send me over the top, because they take a lot out of me to do. Especially the speech, I'll be completely honest. The speech definitely set me off a few times, because going through and typing it up, I realized that I left out a lot of stuff that I needed. And when we came into practice, we had been told that we needed a story of resiliency. Well, I completely forgot that. So I had to go in, not rewrite the whole paper, but go in, add a spot where I could insert that to make everything flow better. So basically, my dreams that I want to have is I want to become a graphic designer, make concept art for movies, TV, games, whatever they basically throw at me. I want to take that time to better expand on my artistic ability. I want to make a difference in the world, because there's some people out there that will see that they don't have what they want. And with this lesson that my parents told me, it kind of can help, honestly, everybody. So they basically said that if you're faced with an issue, make sure that you can find a solution. Because if you can't find a solution, then there's no sense in doing it. They also said that pay attention to the butterflies in your stomach. If you feel that you're doing something that you shouldn't do, back off. But if it's like nervous butterflies, then it's okay because everybody gets it. So overall, I feel that the people that are coming up through school should really pay attention to showing as much resiliency as they possibly can and make sure that they dedicate as much time as they can to school so they don't fall behind as much as I did. That's basically it.
So throughout, throughout the past 4 years of high school, I feel like there's a lot that I've been through and a lot that I've learned. And I feel like these specific lessons are the ones that I'm going to be kind of using the most, like I learn the most from. So my first one is, especially for the future in college, is to do your homework and classwork and to do it near perfectly with no mistakes, and to keep up with all of your classwork assignments, because the school environment will feel very competitive, and so if you do not do it perfectly and on time, then you're going to end up feeling worthless and that your classmates are better than you. And so that's probably the first major lesson I learned that I'm going to be taking forward with me to college, is to just do it perfectly all the time, or try to do it perfectly all the time. Another thing I learned was to not really expect anything out of high school. It was mostly, looking back on it, it was kind of mostly just work, and like, yeah, I made friends and I had fun, but it's not like I really did anything else. So that was probably the next biggest lesson I learned, is that I shouldn't have expected very much, like I did before I came here. The third thing, and the most important thing that I learned, was if I come across something that's far too hard for me, I should try something else and not keep going at what's too hard. Because if I keep trying and I keep asking for help, that's a little bit of a waste of time. Because I'm not only wasting my time by continuing to try at something I can't do, but I'm wasting the time of people that are better than me by asking them for help when they could be doing other things, and also they are more productive and better at the thing than I am. So, moving on to the next part, I had a lot of dreams and a lot of expectations going into high school, but those are not really a thing anymore, because I learned that I cannot really pursue them like I wanted to. So I just think that now, that my dream for after high school is to just find what I am good at, what I was made for, so that I can just be someone who isn't worth nothing to society. So that's probably my dream now after I gave up. So I think that in terms of showing resilience, I can't think of any like very specific moments, but I do feel like that just making it through these past 4 years was a kind of resilience in of itself, because I had such a rough time that the fact that I was able to make it and keep going after last year, I think is a kind of resilience. So because of this, I hope that I can keep the good things that did happen over these past 4 years. I hope I can keep those, and remember and look back on them fondly, but also that I can take the things that were hard and learn from them and become productive in the future, and go to college, and hopefully be better than other people at things. That's about it.
Well, here we go.
Okay. The question today is, how do you become successful during your time in high school? I might not be an expert on how to be successful, but I have learned a couple lessons at my last 4 years here at Cabarrus Tech. These are the 3 lessons that I've learned to be the most prevalent to me in my time. The first lesson I learned, and I had to learn really quickly, was to not let others define you. Growing up, especially with social media, I always kind of looked at other people and what they were doing, and I kind of judged myself on that, and I let other people judge me as well. I let a lot of people influence the way that I was thinking and what career field I was going into, and I just wasn't happy with that. So around the beginning of quarantine, which we all love and remember, I kind of stepped away from social media, and I had a lot more time just for myself. So I began to learn who I was, what I wanted to do, and why I wanted to do it, without the distraction of other people's lives, and not like taking part in silly relationships. I figured out myself, and I can confidently say that I now want to do something related to business. I'm not 100% sure what to do, but I'm obviously still learning that because I'm still young. The second lesson I learned was to stay determined and organized. Without this, I don't think I could have gone through high school. I know this was really hard because a lot of things come up, just like emotional distraught, feeling overloaded, overwhelmed, and just like being drained from a bunch of homework because obviously as an early college student, there's a lot more expectations put on you, especially with classwork. And it was a lot more for me, especially because I do work a job and I have chores at home that I have to help out with. But I've still been able to get through it. An example of this that I have would be this first math project freshman year. Didn't do that until the night of. It was terrible. I was sitting there. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. It was one of the easiest projects I could have done if I had planned in advance, but I didn't. But obviously I learned how to do that. And with this, just going, just keep yourself going, keep that goal in mind, and just head for it. But with organization, I was never really the best at it. Freshman year, we were advised to write down our stuff in an agenda. I hated that. I thought it was silly. I thought I could remember everything. Didn't think I needed the agenda. But obviously that's happened. That's what's helped me the most. Thank God to Ms. Parker for making us do that. Because now I do that and just scratch it off. It feels good to scratch off those things that I have to do. And with that, I haven't had to stress over homework that much. But I do still procrastinate a little bit. I'll admit to that. And my last lesson I would say that I've learned is to take advantage of the people you get to meet. Here with like the career fairs, just like going to work, talking to people, getting to know what they do, why they do it, and what you can learn from that, it's helped me. Just starting that conversation helps so much to get to know the world around you and what's available to you. So I would say just to take advantage of that, because you never know what you'll learn or do or get from that. Because talking to people just opens so many doors for you that you might not think of that would be possible for you. It educates you so much about the world. So I would definitely say that's a pretty big one to remember about. And with all that being said, one wish I would have for the freshmen is just to reach all your goals, no matter how big or small they are. Just work hard to make it to them, because you never know what you can do. So just like work to your limits, or try and get past that, past what you think you can do, because you can always do it with enough determination and hard work set forth.
Very good.
Hello, I'm sure all of you already know, but I'm Millie, a graduating senior that has had an unforgettable time here at CapTech. I still remember my first day here perfectly, walking into Miss Furr's room, terrified at the same time as Journey, a person who little did I know would become my friend, or one of my closest friends here. On my first day here, I met all sorts of people, most of who have already graduated, but who were great models to me. The first advice I can remember getting from juniors at the time, Noemi and Sean, was to not procrastinate, and boy did they have a point. With that advice, I realized just what type of people I would be surrounded by, and how much work I was about to put into these next 4 years of my life. An amount of work that would challenge me in the hardest but best ways possible. But what I didn't know was the number of times I would question and be surprised at my abilities. Nevertheless, I was able to gain so many new experiences and lessons these past 4 years, ones that I will keep with me for a long time. The first lesson that I always keep in mind is that grades aren't everything. A little ironic considering that is what people expect early college kids to care about the most, right? Don't get me wrong, though grades are important for your GPA and future college plans and should be kept to a good level, they shouldn't be your biggest worry. During my freshman year, I cared about my grades so much that I would dedicate so much time and stress to them. I honestly found my grades from freshman year so disappointing compared to my future grades I would be gaining in my later years. Not only was I worrying about school too much, I wasn't enjoying my personal time with family and friends. Then suddenly one day I was in English class with Mr. Davis. I don't remember exactly when nor why, but he told the class that at the end of the day, an A is just an A, regardless of how high or low it is. Before he said that, I had never seen grades through that viewpoint. I always felt that getting a high A or a high B was always better. And although it is for personal pride and skill, once your final grade is put into your transcript, a low or high A counts the same. This may seem like I'm encouraging you to work less hard or to settle for the minimum, but that's not my point, and I don't think that was his either. For me, hearing this allowed me to understand that my efforts were enough even if it didn't reach the highest mark, allowing myself to go easier on myself. This realization is what allowed me to enjoy my personal life without worrying and without letting my stress out on my family. So for future incoming students or current students, I hope that you give yourself a break. If you find yourself worrying too much about school and what you'll get on your next graded assignment, just take a break, like an hour, a couple hours, even a day. Get distracted and enjoy your time out of school. And after that, you'll hopefully feel refreshed enough to do more schoolwork. The second lesson I learned was that pacing yourself takes huge pressure off your back. I learned this through my junior year, which was all at home and online due to the pandemic. Not only was this a whole new environment to do school in, but an obstacle that I had never imagined I would have to face. At the beginning of the year, I remember looking at my classes, which were 6 at the time. I was terrified. I remember I was now a full college student with responsibility of doing my work without any teacher reminding me about the due dates. I had never appreciated how much my teachers did. Not only did they have to schedule the classes, they had to schedule every assignment and keep in mind 60 students. So when I saw all the due dates in my classes, my head was spinning because I couldn't imagine how much work I would have to do every day, on top of going to virtual class and doing chores all in the same space. However, I remembered that agendas exist. I know that freshman year and sophomore year, we were encouraged to have agendas and to keep up with our assignments. But honestly, I rarely used it because I had like 5 teachers at the time constantly reminding me of what was due and when. Since I no longer had that privilege, I had to create an agenda. So I opened up all of my class assignment schedules and wrote down all the assignments on a piece of paper and their due dates. Then wrote them down on my agenda with due dates of when I would complete them, giving myself more time for English papers and other long assignments. It was a hassle scheduling them all in, especially when I had multiple big assignments at once, but it made first semester pass like a breeze. The following semester was when things started going downhill. During this time, my family was going through a tough time, so my life became a little more chaotic, and the last thing I wanted to do was look at all the schoolwork I had ahead of me. Because of this, I only became more stressed and had to stay up endless nights to complete work, and that I could have easily done beforehand if I were on a schedule. The following semester, my senior year, I tried to avoid this and schedule out all my classes once again, but failed to stick to it, and instead was excited to be back on campus with my friends and got a bit too distracted. I really felt it at the end of the semester when I had to write a big paper within a week. After that, I realized that I never again wanted to go through that pressure and got a brand new agenda to use for the rest of the senior year, which is now. This had me feeling a lot more stress-free, at least that is with all my school assignments. And I know that it's easier said than done, but trust me, since I've gone through it, your agenda could be your biggest relief for the upcoming years in school. Well, that's enough about grades and assignments. The next lesson that I learned, which I think I learned quite late, is that things are only as fun as you make them to be. I always thought that this school was going to be focused on academics and only getting good grades, but I realized that it would only be that way if I let it be that way. The first time that I realized this was at senior prom. Late, I know. Ever since I can remember, prom was never something I was looking forward to. Coming to high school, I was really shy, so having to dance at a gathering to English music just seemed so embarrassing. I also felt like it wasn't going to be fun because it was going to be a drastic, culturally different function for me. However, as it got closer, I felt like I wanted to go and create an amazing memory with all my friends here. So I bought my ticket, got ready in a cute pink princess dress, and went with my friends to prom. I was nervous at first, but after I saw my peers enjoying themselves, I thought that I should just do the same, and I did. I danced with my friends and had a blast. Without a doubt, I know that it will be a night I will forever cherish. It will be a core memory from my time here. After this night, I realized that prom was only fun, even if I had no date, because I chose to just enjoy it with some of the people I love the most. Something that now looking back was what most of my happy memories have in common here. So if you feel like an upcoming seminar project, connection activity, or any other school function will be boring, try to make it fun. This will help your experience here not only be a bit more tolerable, but for the people around you too. One big dream I had when coming here to early college was to overcome my fear to speak up in situations that made me uncomfortable. I knew that I would be doing a lot of presentations in front of peers and teachers, and that made me terrified, especially because my past presentation in middle school was awful. However, I wanted to be able to go through these presentations in a way I would be proud of later. It was very hard at the beginning, wishing they would be over as soon as possible or that something would happen so I didn't have to present. Still, I tried my best, and I started to notice that little by little, I was becoming more comfortable and dreading presentations a little less. The one presentation I always look back on is my career presentation and seminar in front of Ms. Scott. I had created a poster and had all my information ready. I was nervous, but I knew I had to do good. When I went up and started presenting, I felt good. I think it was because I was talking about something I loved. But before I knew it, it was over. It was our first class with Ms. Scott, since she was a brand new teacher and nobody knew how harsh of a grader she would be. So we were all anxiously waiting for our grades. Little by little, the grades started coming in, and I was so happy about my grade, which if I remember correctly was a high A. I was so proud of myself, especially after hearing Anna's feedback, my classmate, saying that my presentation seemed very professional. I then realized that I had completed my goal. Even now, I find myself not nearly as scared as I was 4 years ago when I started. Although I still have some work to do on my abilities, I am so proud of where I've come. I always felt like I wouldn't be able to experience a normal high school experience here at Cap Tech because it's what I heard from all my other friends in other schools. Even though they were in fact right, early college was anything but average. not only academically but socially. I was surrounded by some of the most interesting people that I am so thankful to have met. I wouldn't change it because I got so much more out of it than I would have from any other high school I can think of. So I have high hopes for future students of this school. I wish that future students can come to this school with an open mind and space for self-improvement, because that's the type of mindset that will help them be successful not only at this school but any other venture that they have. And hopefully they will be able to live some great years here, even if they are cut short because of a sudden pandemic, which I am crossing my fingers will not happen again. And that's all I have. Thank you.
And
Okay. As I get ready to leave and enter a new chapter of my life, I look back on my life and time here and see how much I've grown and changed. I also see the lessons that I wish I could have had earlier, that could have helped me through some of my toughest times. I'm going to share these lessons with you in hopes that you use them in wherever life takes you. From a young age, I've had big dreams, and I continue to have them. I dream of being a nurse and getting to help others achieve and maintain good health. I also dream of one day having a family, a variety of pets, and an herb garden. I want to travel, see new things, and learn about different cultures. I have all these dreams, but none of them could have prepared me for the harsh realities of life. I'm not new to hardships. My parents separated when I was only 3. I had night terrors, hallucinations, nightmares, and various fears of the world as a child. Within the past year, I finally stood up for myself against my father and the emotional trauma he has put me through. I continue to struggle with anxiety and depression every day. I struggle and fight to pick up the fragments of myself and turn them into something that is beautiful and unique. It is all these struggles that have taught me one of the most important lessons I've ever learned and probably will ever learn, which is that no matter what, you must always be true to yourself. You can lie to anyone else in the universe, but the second you begin lying to yourself, it's the second that you lose who you truly are. I unfortunately did not know this lesson, and I told myself that I was who others wanted me to be, and I told myself that I was okay with that. I dug myself into a hole so deep that it felt like the walls of my traumas were closing in on me. Eventually, I was able to get out of that hole. I was able to accept myself and begin living more honestly for myself. I was able to see the light through my trauma and grow from it. I confronted those who made me who I was not and moved on from them. This leads me to my second lesson. From my trauma of living for others and a pretty toxic past relationship, I learned that you have to love truthfully. Loving truthfully means being honest in every form of relationship about yourself, your expectations, and your limitations. You can't run from your issues or lie about who you are. This is true in romantic relationships, friendships, and family relationships, but also in the relationship you have with yourself. When you look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day, you have to be able to accept yourself, and you also have to be able to accept others. You have to look at the imperfections and learn to love them. And if you can't, you have to have enough respect to voice that. This is because unvoiced problems will just grow and manifest themselves into your life, causing more problems over time. I've learned all this the hard way, through self-hatred and a lack of love for myself. I've made many mistakes in past relationships also. In particular, I wasn't honest about what I wanted, and I tried to change myself and expectations to fit another person. Lastly, I learned to love truthfully from an outside perspective of my parents' divorce. I saw them fight and hurt, but I also saw them decide when enough was enough. I learned that love in any form cannot be built on lies. This leads me into my last and final lesson I've learned within the past years. And this is that you shouldn't be afraid to take up space in this world and society. As a member of the LGBTQIA community and a uterus holder, I know what it's like to be put down and to be treated like you aren't worth the space you occupy. I grew up in two very different families. One had their beliefs but was still open to new ideas, whereas the other was closed to all new ideas that didn't fall within their beliefs. It's this second one that caused many issues and feelings of loneliness. I was surrounded by people who believed that people like me didn't deserve rights, and that women had a particular place in society and shouldn't go outside that rule. It was extremely hurtful, but within the past years, I've learned that I didn't have to shrink down or change for them. I learned to value myself and the space I occupy. Everyone is valuable and has the potential to be great. Everyone is unique and valid. I don't have to shrink for others that do not understand me, and neither do you. We don't have to change ourselves for anyone other than ourselves. With all that said, I hope you've all learned something from this speech, and that you take these time-developed lessons to heart. Pay attention to yourself and know that your emotions are real and valid. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy.
Excellent. Very good. Very good writing too.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of a doofus, so like I don't even really count. I don't care.
Really?
If you look at your notes, no, nobody everybody remembers their entire speech. Like the big people that you see on TV, they have teleprompters. They're reading off the screen too. That's not fair. I do have a teleprompter. I should have used, but I didn't. So don't care.
Sit here and you can just stare at me awkwardly. I took 100 minutes.
Yeah, you have time. It helps too. Nobody's failed this year, unless they just didn't do it. So.
I was for sure like thought I was gonna be late because I was at this intersection at like Wine and whatever that other road is, and there was this like dusty thing coming back and forth, and my car's gonna get out. Now I'm really cautious because I need a plan to sell.
Oh yeah? Awesome.
Not really, but
Do you want me to turn this off? Or you good?
yeah, I can
Yeah, not a problem. I'm just gonna. Okay, it's off.
Okay. My name is Tess Sullivan. I'm 17 and I'm going to St. Andrews University in the fall to study biology with a specialization in equine science. Today I'll be talking about 3 lessons I've learned in high school, my dreams and obstacles I've faced, as well as my hope for the people I'm leaving behind when I go to college. The first lesson is don't be afraid of the future. The future can be scary, but it's coming, you can't stop it, so you can only prepare for it. When I was younger, I was very worried about what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and I felt like I needed to have my whole life planned out by the time I graduated. As I've gotten older and matured, I have realized just how much time I have left, and I needed to relax a little bit and live in the present instead of worrying about the future. While I'm still planning my future, I am no longer overwhelmed with the idea of having to have my whole life planned out before I turn 18, because that's not how it works. Your life has many paths you can take, and you aren't going to take the same path your whole life. Don't think of your future as something that is happening and is set in stone. You're not a bystander. You're the only one who gets to shape and develop your future. You can't change the cards you're dealt, just how you play them. The second lesson is that your GPA does not define you. My freshman and sophomore years were really hard for me because I was so worried about my grades and doing well in high school. I suffered from depression and anxiety because I was so worried about being the perfect student and having perfect grades that I thought I lost my value as a person because I didn't have all A's. 20 years from now, no one's going to care what your GPA is. The third lesson is to be your own person. You gain nothing by following the crowd. You're your own person, so you have to act like it. You need to make decisions for yourself, not your friends or your parents. And in my freshman years and sophomore, I struggled with social anxiety and was so worried about how other people perceived me that I couldn't even act like myself in fear of being judged. That's no way to live your life. So a dream I've had since I was young is to be a veterinarian. I've always loved animals and I love working with horses and caring for them. Because of this, it just made sense that being an equine vet would be a good career choice for me. I'm currently half leasing a draft horse named Lincoln, and being around horses and other animals is really beneficial for my mental health. It's one of the only times I'm relaxed and can think. I've been to 2 vet camps to help me decide if I really want to be a vet. I did a week-long camp at St. Andrews, the school I'll be attending in the fall, as well as a Shadow the Vet Day at the NC Zoo. Both of these experiences help solidify my decision that I want to go into a career where I can help animals. My obstacle is my mental health, and it's an ongoing challenge. I have depression and anxiety, so having to make decisions that could be life or death for an animal will be difficult. I also have challenges with self-esteem, so that would be an ongoing battle throughout my life. The challenge that I have not faced yet, but know I will face, is getting into vet school, because it's really competitive and difficult. My hopes for the people I'm leaving is that you understand that asking for help does not make you weak. Having a solid support system around you is the best thing you can do for yourself, because even if you're doing fine right now, sometimes you will need help, and it is way easier to have a support system in place and not need it than to need a support system and not have it. That support system can be made up of whoever you want. It doesn't have to be the stereotypical people like your guidance counselor or parents. You don't have to do everything alone. Other people can help you. And as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the only person you are destined to be is the person you decide to be. Thank you.
Woo!
It was really short, I'm sorry.
No, it was great though. I think I'm super impressed by everybody's really, you're great writers. Like you got a good group of people who are solid writers. Yours is great. Yours is very well written. Millie, yours is very well written. Carlos, you're alright. That's a joke. But no, wonderful. Very good. Yeah. And you're done with high school. You have college stuff left over, but this is the last high school thing.
She's been putting it off.
Just throw it in a trash can. Not on the floor. If you are ready, go ahead and go.
Wait, is everyone coming here at 12?
Well, 12:30 is lunch, so
I don't know the juniors coming here at 12.
roundabout. So sooner you go.
Okay, I don't want to talk in front of them. So, I have perfect speech if I have my Shreya, hurry!
Yes.
Okay, you know what?
You're way overthinking it. I cannot stress how flexible and laid back that I am.
Hurry before I kill you.
Okay.
Got this, you're doing great. Let's see.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shreya Nandimandala, and I am a senior here at Cabarrus Tech. August 8th, 2018 was my first day of my freshman year. Back then, I was a 14-year-old girl who was so nervous about what the next 4 years would bring. Now, as I'm leaving, I'm an 18-year-old girl who's preparing for the next phase of her life. When I went into interview night in my 8th grade year, I asked so many students what early college was like, and every single one told me that it would be a lot of work. And honestly, that intimidated me. I started to ask myself, do I really want to put myself through this for the next 4 years? I ended up saying yes to that question because I wanted to give myself a challenge. And now I am so glad I made that decision. In these last years, I not only made long-lasting friendships and had amazing memories, but I also learned a lot. And I'm here now to tell you guys what are some of those things. The first lesson I learned is that things won't always happen the way you want them to, but no matter what, they will always work out well. For as long as I could remember, when I thought about my future, I pictured myself as a doctor or a medical professional. So in my sophomore year, when we had to choose our BDPs, I decided to choose biology. I was so set in what I thought would happen that I didn't pay much focus into any other field. In my junior year, I started to wonder, what if? What if I think about other careers? What if I want to push my boundaries and explore other things than medicine? So I started looking into the IT career field, as my parents are in that field and now my brother is too. So I started to research that field and I began to think of careers that would benefit me and my preferences. Eventually, I came across the data science career, and that really piqued my interest. So, after long deliberation, I am now this fall I will be attending UNC Charlotte for the data science major. So clearly, data science is very different than biology. For a while, I was so nervous about whether or not I would succeed in this field because I was always so sure I would in medicine. I kept telling myself that everything will work out okay. And now I've come to realize that it really will be. Because no matter which field I go into, I know that if I put my best foot forward and I put in effort, I will make myself succeed. So the lesson I learned from this is you can plan all you want to, but no matter what, your plans won't always happen, and if they don't, it'll still be okay. The second lesson I learned is that you should always put yourself first and should do things that make you happy. Throughout my freshman and sophomore year, I spent a lot of time worrying about what other people thought about me. I would constantly be thinking about what more could I do for my friends, or how could I be a better friend, daughter, and sister. Basically, I spent my days trying to make other people happy. But in the midst of all of that, I forgot how to make myself happy. Through the COVID-19 pandemic, I faced a lot of hardships, personally, academically, emotionally, everything. But it also gave me the time I needed to be alone and figure out what I need to make myself a better person. Growing up with immigrant parents, I felt as though I needed to be perfect so that I can make my parents and family members happy too, and proud. I always listened to what I was told. I talked the way I was told to, I dressed the way I was supposed to, and I lived the way people expected me to. After all that, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't even know who I was anymore. So little by little, over the pandemic, I started doing little things that made me happy, even if it was for a short moment of time. I started to paint again, I started to read books again, I decided to cook more and bake more, and I started to I started to journal again. I found happiness in the little things that filled my day. Then I decided to reconnect with all of my old friends from New Jersey and India. Though sometimes I struggled with being alone, part of me was glad that I had no one else to focus on and make happy but myself. Now I am happier than I have been in years. I'm finally putting myself forward, and I've realized that if I can't make myself happy, no one else can, because I will be the only one who will live with me for the rest of my life. The third and final lesson I learned from my time here is that no situation or feeling is permanent. With the increased workload of early college, I would often feel stressed and anxious about all the things I had to do. I wanted to do everything at once, which led to me getting nothing done at all. It took me a while before I managed to find a balance between schoolwork and my personal time. But I listened to myself and found the study methods that work best for me. Eventually, that led to me being less stressed with school, which benefited me and my happiness overall. I believe that life is all about a balance. It's all right to struggle and it's all right to go through tough times, but always remember that good times will follow. That belief helped me a lot during times when my depression would get so bad and I wouldn't do anything. I gave myself time and I worked with my needs. If I didn't want to do schoolwork that day, I planned my schedule to where I would still get it done before the deadline, but I would give myself time to take a break if I needed to. Soon, and that really worked for me, and soon that did make me happier. I eventually found schedules that worked best for me, and in my junior year, being in COVID, when all my schedules became so messed up, it really helped because I had to balance going to classes and teaching myself the material that I wasn't understanding in classes while taking care of myself. Because when I was in my freshman and sophomore year, school was where I would get stressed out, but I would go home and de-stress and I would take time for myself. Suddenly over COVID, my place of stress and my place of relaxation became one. And that was hard to do, or that was hard to separate. So the lesson I learned from that is it's okay, it's all right to struggle, but just know that it will always end. Nothing is permanent. A time when I demonstrated resiliency during my time here was when I had to overcome my grandfather's death. On December 2nd, 2020, my grandfather passed away due to COVID-19. At the time, my dad was able to be there with him, but I was not because of the pandemic and because of school. When he passed, the hardest part was not being able to say goodbye to him. For as long as I could remember, my grandfather was my hero. He grew up in a poor village, which is still my village, called Mustapuram in India. He grew up to poor parents and he had to do everything himself in order to build a name for himself. As he grew older, he took care of his entire family himself. He took care of his sister himself, who was widowed at a very young age, and he got married and raised 4 children by himself. At the time, because we lived in a village, my grandmother was not expected to work. She was expected to be a housewife. So, raising 4 children, the financial responsibility fell on my grandfather alone. He started as a government worker in our village, and he saved so much money and he invested properly. And now he built such a name for himself that he is now, even after passing, one of the most respected people in our village. And that confidence and that strength that he built for himself gave my dad the confidence to move across the country when it was time for him to move to America. I remember when my grandfather passed away, I had just finished my online class and I went downstairs and my father was on the phone and he was the one who had to break the news. And I remember thinking that this can't be true. That my grandfather has survived so many hospital visits and so many health conditions that it can't be true. That somewhere he's still there and I will see him again, I will talk to him again. But eventually the news settled and I had to come to terms with the fact that I would no longer be able to see him or talk to him again. That affected me in tremendous ways. After he passed, I could not find it in myself to want to do things. I just wanted to be left alone to my grief. But what eventually helped me was that I wanted to be like my grandfather. I wanted to be strong like him. I wanted to be smart like him. And I wanted to have his determination in life to succeed, not only for himself, but for his family. I still keep that with me in my mind today, and is where I get my confidence from, that I will be okay and no matter what happens in the next 4 years when I go off to college and just my entire life after that. Everything I am today I owe to my grandfather, because for years when I would visit every year, he would always be there with me. And when we lived in India for 3.5 years, he stayed with us for 1.5 years. And he raised my dad to be strong, and my dad raised me to be strong. So everything I am is from my grandfather. And so yeah, his death was the hardest part about going to school here, or resiliency. Before I finish, I just wanted to say that a hope I have for those I'm leaving is that they don't drop out. I hope that they find the motivation to keep them going until their graduation. I have not had as much fun in my entire time being here as I did in my senior year. All the times my friends and I would spend hours talking and laughing, or going out and grabbing food, or just sitting next to each other and bothering each other all day after class was just memories that I know I will always keep. I spent so much time in my freshman and sophomore year studying to make good grades and make sure that I was in good academic standing. And just when I thought I would have a little bit of freedom or free time was when COVID hit in my junior year. So I was left to my senior year to have the most fun I could, and I am so glad that I didn't let those hard times stop me, because senior year has been one of the best years of my life. I genuinely want underclassmen and other students at the school to experience that too, because that's how we know that our hard work at the school paid off. I am so glad that I decided to come to early college, because I have grown personally, academically, emotionally, just all around. I have met some of the most amazing people, and I know that I always have a support system to come back here to if I need to. Well, thank you for your time.